JB here. Hope everyone's doing outstanding. April 25th, 2025, 3:13 on this fine Friday. Talk quick about the markets, some names I'm looking at, go from there. S&P bounced around in the afternoon after some POTUS comments, but have since bounced back into the green, solidly up 0.6%. You go stalling at some of the financial websites, and it says stocks struggle for direction. And then I look, I'm like, up 0.6% is struggling for direction. But you make the case, we're hitting highs about 130 or so. And then you have POTUS make remarks. Again, more China remarks. I guess it's just how they're construed if he's easing his stance or hardening his stance. It's just frustrating with 2 hours left in the day on a Friday option expiration day. It's just makes it more frustrating unless you're positioned for it, right? You're in the puts right when his comments come out, or the calls if it's like he did after the close on Tuesday. So anyway, needless to say, 547 I thought would be the big spot of resistance. We actually came up to that a couple times in the morning. And then let's see, we did it how many times? It looks like 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Then 10:30 hit lows, and then we just bounced, and then off to the races. 1 o'clock SPY hit 551, so over that resistance, so a good sign there. And then we're down here 549. So I mean, I hate to see a pull at the end of the day, but if we get under 547, I think just close over 547. So next week we have earnings, right? So big ones again, Meta. We have Apple. We have Amazon. Gonna want to hear a lot about what's going on with Meta because, like I was saying this morning, we have Google, right? So Google, great earnings, but still some concern there. And I think if Meta is able to kind of whisk away some concerns or a lot of the concerns around the ad spend, and then just continue to at least have in line or even higher than expected capex on the AI side, that might be the spark or the added fuel to the fire. Maybe we head to 565, 570 on the spot. I really don't think that'll be possible until we get a lot of this uncertainty pulled out. So today another funny headline. It's like they just they they have this narrative, the story, right? And the story is the U.S. economy is in recession or going into recession. A lot of folks have been saying for the last couple of weeks, or maybe since before the tariff, oh, U.S. economy is in a recession. Well, we're going to find out probably not in a recession, right? Unless the hard data has been completely incorrect. And now this headline was, oh, the container ship count coming out of China to the U.S. has dropped substantially over the last couple weeks. And then you look at the chart, I'm like, this is the same area it was out at back last year at this time, and it almost looks like seasonality. And then you look, and it was actually lower in February of this year, and back in June, and then just a couple months ago. So it's like they're create the story and then support it with data after the fact, right? So just another one of those things. Of course, obviously, if the it's pretty much like who was it? The Commerce Secretary said it's pretty much like a trade embargo, right? The ships are blocking any kind of commerce coming out of the ports because no one who's gonna you can't. There's no way these producers and manufacturers in China can sell products in the U.S. with the tariffs the way they are. So that's why it's got to change, right? I mean, that's why I sit here and I have some hope that things can get resolved, right? Because there's no way that can continue. So, of course, as a function of that, maybe some ships are getting held up. There's reports. All these stories of maybe they're going to try and avert tariffs. You go to send the products to a different country that has more lax on the tariff side and somehow subvert the tariffs. I mean, I'm sure as the days go on, I'm sure there'll be stories of that, but just hope everything gets resolved. I think I wouldn't call it the straw that will break the camel's back, but the thing that will really probably, for me, get me a little more concerned is when you start seeing empty shelves, right? And of course, grocery stores are one thing because a lot of the stuff you get from the grocery stores is somewhat domestic outside avocados and some of the other stuff. But when you go to other locations or online, and then you start seeing things that normally would be in stock, not in stock, that would be a problem, or substantially higher prices. I haven't seen that yet. So, all right, so that's kind of the overall market. I remain optimistic into next week. So if the earnings, 530 to 547 on the SPY trading range. Maybe we get a tighter range next week, 535 to 555, 560. Funny enough, those are ranges for months last year. Now they're ranges for a week, but you take what you got. Just the market we're giving us right now. So can't change that. And then the following week we get the Fed meeting. So that'll be an important I mean, very important now, especially I wouldn't call Fed Chair Powell on the hot seat right now, but it was only only this time last week when all of a sudden those Wall Street Journal article came out. Well, I'm right after I came on audio, or a little bit before that, where they said that POTUS is trying to see his if he's able to fire Powell and wants to fire him, right? And then of course he retracted that last week on Tuesday. So definitely going to be important. But again, to me, it's the earnings, the spins, how they spin it, the impacts, the metas, the Amazons, especially in regards to um, advertising, and then Amazon with its, you hear people, closing up shop on Amazon because, Amazon doesn't make the stuff, right? So, all right, rants for other days. And then take a look at the VIX. And, a lot of times I don't look at a 50-day moving average too much on the VIX, but look at his meltdown since the highs, just kind of like slow and steady. So we'd love to see that back to 20, but I don't think that's going to happen for some time. All right, so that's kind of overall market. And then just individual names. Of course, great week for some names. It's like one of those weeks where you 3 or 4 weeks or a month or 2 months from now, it's gonna be like no volatility. There's only be a couple names moving, and you're gonna be like, oh, remember that week? This is one of those. Could have been even one of a better week if I had traded some of the names I was looking at, but. A good week nonetheless. Reddit, I think it's up 24% now. I pulled up before. Um, I mean, how many times I was on the rant this week, and it was it was 90 on Monday when I was on the rant, or 91. Then then it was 96. Then I was holding the calls into Wednesday, and then it was over 100. Then holding them into Google, and then so on and so forth. So just crazy stuff. The 105s were 16, $17. I got them for 48 cents. I mean, so of course hindsight could have held them all into today, but it doesn't make sense to hold that risk. I did get the 120s. Uh, Able to close some of those out at the open. And again, they played the shenanigans. The Reddit option market doesn't open at like 9:36 in the morning. Boggles my mind how that happens, but it does. Close some out for close to 300%, and then I just held the rest. And then I'm kicking myself, but then noon hour comes in. It's 114, spikes all the way up to 119 in a matter of an hour and a half. Then you have the POTUS comments that dipped and then back up over 120. So call me crazy. I was saying 120 yesterday, and boom, 120 when the stock was at 111. Doesn't happen often when you call that, when that big a move happens. Sometimes I'm being half sarcastic, but uh, so just close some more out for a little over 100%, and I just have a few left. You never know with these end of day option expirations, so especially if you're following and you still have some, make sure you have some kind of market order in or whatever. You don't want to have that stuff expire in money. I can tell you some crazy stories over the years of I have a really crazy story, but I won't share it today. But where I have a position on a Friday expire into money. So just don't want to have that happen. So I mean, most firms or whatever, some people have it on auto close. Some people they'll close, they'll call you or whatever. Just I'll alert if I do my market, or I'll alert when I close the rest out. But nice trade. I don't know if I'll revisit. The premiums are expensive, but you start looking at 50-day moving average 128. If Google's the sigh of relief for the earnings sector, for the tech names, then Meta could be like the really the big kickstart. So if Meta has bullish commentary around their ad spend, you gotta think Reddit probably trades back to 150 or so. Just I don't know. The risk reward is not the same as it was when the stock was at $90, and the calls are a heck of a lot less expensive. All right, so that's Reddit. Tesla, another woulda, coulda, shoulda. It was yesterday when so I played it on Wednesday after its earnings for a nice. I thought it was going to bounce, got up to 258, 257 somewhere there, couldn't break through, closed the calls out for a small gain, the 285s, and then yesterday I did the same thing. Right in the morning I was watching it, finally got some strikes around 10 o'clock, and it gets up to 258, 259, and then it drops $2, and my premiums got destroyed on the 275 calls. So I'm like, I typically don't salvage weekly positions, well, unless they're close to in the money, high premium paid or what have you, because I think I was saying on the rant yesterday afternoon, I have to go scramble back, but it's like how many times over the years where I've had an option that's been bidless, or an option that was not taking it on the chin, only to see it come back to life and then some the next day. And I mean, here's Tesla. So my calls I got at 60 cents went up to $10 or over $10. You're talking 1,500% gain. Instead, I closed it for a loss. So it's almost like it's a double whammy. I'm pouring salt on my wounds, right? So if a lot of times folks would ask me, or I get message, are you going to close these out or whatever? That's kind of the thought process, because this is a great example of you could do the weekly lotto option 50 times, and 10% of the times, or maybe 5% of the times, you get a 1,500% gainer that makes up for all those ones that expired and then some, right? A great example, I think, was Open Table, right? So Priceline bought Open Table back in the day. I bought the Open Table calls. I was bullish that name for a while just because I like the business model. People didn't understand or what have you. And I bought into the WWDC, right? The developer conference for Apple, and they were bidless. I think they were 5 cents. So it's like the good thing was I couldn't get out of the calls because they were bidless. And then the next day they announced a buyout. The stock was like $70. They announced it about for 102. My calls that I got for like 25 cents were $35 when I closed them out. So does that happen all the time? No, right? It's only, I don't know how many years ago, as 2012 maybe. So long time ago. But oh no, maybe it's 2014. But it happens, right? So got to have a plan. And my plan in the back of my head was like, Tesla's going to run. And sure enough, was it due? So at least I had the right idea. If it was a week where I didn't have crazy multi-baggers on some of these other names, it'd be a very frustrating weekend. But that's not the case. I posted here. This is from the chat room. Uh, I usually ride those to expiry. So watch Tesla go 120, 280 plus tomorrow without me to spite me. That's pretty much what it did. Crazy stuff. All right. That's Tesla. So okay, that's that. I don't be surprised if more FOMO, right? The only issue with Tesla right now is that Kramer kind of touted him this morning in regards to robo-taxi. Oh, don't doubt Elon Musk. I mean, what planet have you been on, Kramer? I mean, he's been on and off Elon Musk for years now. And it just so a lot of times you go inverse Kramer. The inverse Kramer is maybe he put some some headwinds in Tesla, but I won't be surprised if it trades into the 300s and beyond. Because again, I was saying with the earnings too, the bears look at Tesla and say it's a car company, and I mean it is, right? It is, but that's not what it's fully valued at. So there's still a huge addressable market that's not out there yet, right? That they're gonna impact, and it's not fair. Some of it was priced in the stock was $500, but now it's down here, and all right. So on to CMG. Monster run. Well, I wouldn't even call it monster, up 4.6% today. It was fickle yesterday, right? So gap reversed, ran into green after the open yesterday. I was able to close some of my calls out for 100% within a matter of 10 minutes, and then it just fizzled and it was back under 50 and the 49s, and then I was talking about the 50-day moving average of 50.61, and then boom, 11 o'clock, someone hit a button, and it's been nonstop ever since. Hit 52 a little while ago. So didn't want to be in a spot where I'm holding over the weekend or some downgrade on Monday, so I closed some more of the calls out for over 100%. I'll just hold the rest. You start looking, April highs, I think it was 52.27, somewhere in there. So if that breaks, maybe it gets to 54.55. That's the case. Obviously, at 18 cents, the contracts could be up 500, 600, 1,000%. So yeah, I'll be back in there. Yeah, Green Mountain Coffee Roasters, GMCR. I used to love GMCR back in the day because it was a highly shorted stock. And a lot, again, people, there'd be news out that they're using plastic for their K cups or whatever, and the stock would sell off, and because some short person came out with a bearish piece. Same with SodaStream. SodaStream back in the day, it was $20. It was $17, and people like, JB, why are you going after SodaStream? SodaStream's a garbage company. A huge short interest, and then it would go up, down. I used to make a lot of money in the calls, and sometimes not a lot of money, and then a lot of money, and then finally, I think I was. SodaStream used to mock people because they were about the environment, and some of the issue too is SodaStream was an Israeli company, so there was a lot of fire for them. But they actually Palestinians worked at the factory. But rants for other days. I don't have as much time here, but the funny thing with SodaStream is they used to drive a garbage truck full of plastic bottles up to the Pepsi corporate headquarters and do like videos and stuff to show how bad they are for the environment, and then turns out Pepsi acquired them. So anyway, just another great buyout. There's been some fun buyouts over the years. So that's CMG. Restoration Hardware, it's a great one as well this week. Of course, in hindsight, when I could have got all my calls out for 400% or whatever, I should have, but I just held a few runners just because, like I keep saying, the CEO is going to do something. There's going to be a buyback, a one-time special divvy, something to that effect, and hopefully it comes next week. So I went and got those 210 strikes, and then sure enough, it goes from 185 all the way up to 188, and boom, right when POTUS starts talking, or those comments came out, all the way back down to 183. It's still here, 185, up slightly in the green. Really like that one into next week, pending any crazy shenanigans, especially if there's more headlines, positive headlines in regards to excuse me, with the China trade war. All right, so that's that. And then Roku, I was mentioned earlier, I didn't even look at the premiums just now, but there was like a discrepancy between the premiums. So Roku reports earnings on May 1st. And then if you go to get next week's call, yeah, the premiums come down a little bit, obviously, because it's fallen a little bit. But if you go out to get next week's calls, they were like you're paying 10% or $10. Then the further ones out were $12. So it was like a 3% discrepancy for an extra 2 weeks of time. So I went and got the monthly 85 strikes. I'll just hold on to those and then hopefully get some premium build into next week. And then you have the double whammy, right? So if Meta reports decent ad spend, that's just going to add to the or at least remove some of the concern around the recession worries and especially in the ad space. And I think that'll bode well for Roku. If it doesn't find some footing, I'll just close them out and revisit. Not much here to add on GameStop. Finally green, but still waiting to do its golden cross. Hasn't done that just yet. It's 16 cents away, it looks like, right? 24.79 is the 50, 24.94 is the 200-day moving average. So hopefully that finds some footing. And then just some other names. It was funny. Duolingo, I don't know how you pronounce it, but Citron Research came out. He's short Duolingo today. And like, I remember looking at it. So back at the end of last year and then start of this year, I have to find a watch list. Deckers and Intuit were my two names. I said these are probably some good put plays if tariffs come, and Nike too, right? Because if somebody, especially Deck, because Deck was priced for perfection, all-time highs, it was 200 and whatever. And any nick in their earnings based on logistic concerns, pricing, or whatever tariffs, you have to think it gets repriced a little bit. And of course, the stock got cut in half. And I was trying to play puts, but they were so expensive. Then it had earnings that did well, and then that earnings was kind of the start of it. But it's funny that I'm talking about First Solar a lot, and Citron Research goes on Fox News on Monday and says, "Oh, he's long First Solar." He's done a lot of these over the years where he's in things after I'm in them. So sometimes on the other side, but then also Duolingo, right? So not a name, and for some reason I thought it was an Asian company. I thought it was a China ADR, and it turns out it's like that free language site, right? It's pretty cool stuff. And then you look and you're like, how's this stock just bonkers over the last couple of years? And this great model. So it's one of those, when you pull it up, you look and like, wow, this is probably an easy short, and it just defies gravity. And I think some of it's because it's a great growth story. So it's one of those names on the bounce list. And then sure enough, today he comes out with a tweet saying, oh, he's shorted, blah, blah, blah. I haven't read it, the short piece or his thesis or whatever on it. Stock has returned to green, but that's one of those names I'm going to have on the bounce list. So there's a header here in the chat room for bounce plays. So maybe over the week I'll load some more. Again, I don't think we're completely out of the woods just yet, because if there's no deals with the tariffs and the longer this goes on, the the probability we hit 481 on the SPY just to increase, and probably the longer we go, the faster the move's going to be. And then it just also, POTUS announced today, no more pausing on tariffs, but you don't know if there's no more pausing on tariffs, right? Because Friday he's firing Powell, Tuesday he's not firing Powell. Monday he talked to China. China says the U.S. didn't talk to China. But, it's like all the stories. So we don't know. Hopefully, I just hope this all works out, right? I mean, I'm an optimistic person, glass half full. I assumed with what went on that this was more just posturing and then working out deals that benefit all parties and the global economy, right? Because good trade deals should be good for everybody, hopefully, right? So without creating market inefficiencies. To me, I'm like a free market person, right? I think there's reasons why the iPhone is produced in China. It's not because China decided, hey, we're going to screw the United States. And maybe that, of course, if you're a patriotic person and you're a China citizen, you'd be like, yeah, I want to screw every country because I want to be the best country, right? But there's some of it's because they have the low labor, the low manufacturing, the cost to build things, the regulations are lax, the age to work, all those things. So there's so many factors that go into it. But again, I'm not a PhD in economics or any of that stuff. Just all opinion. All right, have a great weekend, folks. I'll be back. Rock and roll.